In the stillness between moments, in the silence that lingers like the hush before dawn, there exists a mystery too deep for words and too vast for time. Life does not unfold at random. It weaves, it waits, it remembers. Every unanswered prayer, every aching pause, is not a delay but a divine cadence. You are not drifting in chaos. You are being carried through a sacred current, toward a meeting already written in eternity's scroll. There is someone, somewhere, stirred by the same invisible hand that moves your soul. And when the hour appointed by heaven arrives, their voice will break the silence. Not by accident, but by orchestration. They will move toward you, not out of impulse, you where you trust, but in harmony with the design whispered at the foundation of the world. For nothing is ever truly lost in the heart of God, only placed precisely for the moment when destiny remembers its name. There are moments in life when silence stretches so long, it begins to feel like a sentence, like exile from the promises you once believed. You pray, and yet the heavens seem still. You wait, and nothing shifts. The person you felt was woven into your spirit is nowhere to be found, and the stillness begins to echo louder than any storm. But what if the silence isn't abandonment? What if it's not a void, but a vessel? Because in the divine economy, silence is never wasted. It is never random. It is never empty. It is pregnant with intention. An invisible room where God shapes the hearts of those he's about to bring together. Before any divine contact, there must be a divine preparation. And that preparation often looks like stillness, like quiet days and restless nights. Like wandering through dry places with a deep ache in your soul that only heaven understands. You see, silence has a language all its own. It speaks in subtle shifts, in unexpected longings, in sudden memories that resurface for no reason. Shows you where you trust. It speaks when you find yourself thinking of someone with a weight you can't explain. And your spirit knows something before your mind can grasp it. That is not coincidence. It is God speaking in the sacred spaces where your soul is more awake than your senses. Many miss the move of God because they misinterpret his silence. They assume absence where God is actually present. But the potter always works in hidden rooms. The seed grows in darkness. The stars shine in silence. God speaks loudest when everything else is quiet. And in that silence, he is aligning your thoughts, your desires, your maturity with the very one you've been praying for. Not when you expect it, but when you're ready. Because heaven doesn't operate on desperation. It moves on divine timing. And in this season, there's a stirring. Something is beginning to shift. The stillness is no longer static. It's vibrating with prophetic tension. The delay has an expiration date, and the silence is beginning to hum with purpose. Your person, the one God has whispered about, the one you've seen in visions and carried in your spirit, is beginning to feel the pull. Not because of your effort, but because the same God who whispered to you is now awakening them. There will come a moment, sudden and sovereign, when they will make the first move. And when it happens, it won't be from a place of confusion. It will be clarity forged in the silence. You where you trust. They will not reach out because they figured it out. They will reach because something higher than them has compelled them. A voice, a dream, a divine nudge. something will activate them beyond logic. They won't even know why the urgency is there, but their soul will know. It always has. You must understand. God is not only preparing them, He's been preparing you. You've been forged in the quiet. Your discernment has sharpened. Your spirit has been trained to hear whispers, not shouts. You no longer chase because you've learned to trust. You no longer beg because you know who you are. The waiting didn't weaken you. It established you. It shows you where you trust. You've become the kind of person who can now receive the kind of love that once would have overwhelmed you. Do not despise the silence. Do not curse the delay, for the silence was never still. It was sacred. It was the sound of destiny moving beneath the surface, like roots stretching underground before the tree breaks through the soil. Everything hidden is about to be revealed. Everything sown in tears will be answered in clarity. The contact is coming. The first move is being written into the fabric of this very moment. And when it happens, it will not feel forced. It will feel like a door finally unlocking from the inside. A divine rhythm will meet human action. Heaven will touch earth. And you will recognize that this was not just about timing. It was about becoming. So stay sensitive. Stay positioned. Stay expectant. Because when heaven breaks its silence, nothing will ever be the same. The silence was not the absence of God. It was the sound of Him getting everything in place. Some things move before they are seen. A seed breaks open in the dark before a leaf ever touches light. The ocean pulls back before it roars forward. And in the divine realm, the answer often begins to move long before your eyes can perceive it. You may not feel it. You may not see it. But heaven is already in motion. There are invisible threads being pulled even now. Threads that connect moments, choices, people, and prayers across time and space. And these threads do not unravel, they weave. Not in haste, but in holiness. Not in chows, but in choreography. You are part of that divine tapestry, the longing you carry. The sense that someone is out there and the knowing that it's not just wishful thinking. That is not delusion. That is discernment. That is your spirit recognizing a thread being pulled taut on the other side. The one meant for you is not a distant dream. They are being stirred even now by the same God who speaks to your soul. You may not have touched hands, but your spirits have already met in a place beyond language, beyond logic. There is an ache in their heart that mirrors yours. There are moments when they pause mid-thought and wonder why they feel drawn, feel compelled. As if something is unfinished, waiting. That something is you. We are taught to look for signs in the physical, but the kingdom often works in reverse. The shift happens in the spirit before it manifests in the natural. What you perceive as delay is often just the visible realm catching up to what has already been set in motion. And when it feels like nothing is happening, that is when everything is. The deeper the connection, the more sacred the preparation. Divine unions are not built on proximity. They are born through purpose. And that purpose is protected. That's why some doors closed. That's why some people couldn't stay. The connection you're about to step into has been guarded by grace. The people you thought would be forever. Some were only for a lesson. Some were only meant to prepare your capacity for what is coming. the person who will contact you, the one who will take that first step toward you, is being positioned not by preference, but by prophecy. And just as God is working in you, refining your discernment, healing your wounds, awakening your identity, He is doing the same in them. He is aligning your timelines, your growth, your courage. They are being awakened to truths they once resisted. They are being pulled away from distractions they once entertained. The voice of God is beginning to thunder louder than the voices of doubt and fear. And at the appointed time, they will move. Not because they were convinced by emotion, but because something eternal clicked into place. You may feel weary waiting, but the waiting is not passive. It is pregnant. Every moment you surrender your impatience, every time you choose hope over fear, you are participating in the weaving. You are saying yes to God's pattern instead of your own pace. And that yes shifts things. It strengthens the thread. It deepens the connection. It helps bring the spiritual into the visible. Do not let the silence deceive you. Divine movement rarely announces itself with fanfare. It often begins with a whisper, a restlessness, a thought you can't shake. When that person thinks of you without knowing why. When their heart begins to ache for something more. When they feel the divine tap on their shoulder. They are being drawn by the thread. And sooner than you think, that thread will pull them to act. Their message will come. Their voice will break through the quiet. And it won't be hesitant. It will be marked with urgency, a knowing, a conviction, because divine love does not tiptoe. It recognizes, it remembers. So take heart, lift your eyes. You are not waiting in vain. The unseen thread is already stretching between you. Woven by the hand of the Almighty, it cannot break. And when the time is right, it will not only pull them toward you, it will awaken everything within you that's been waiting to come alive. Because what God joins in the spirit, no distance, no silence, no delay can keep apart. There comes a moment when human striving gives way to divine movement. When what you've prayed for no longer rests on your effort, but responds to heaven's command. And when it happens, it does not unfold by chance. It's not born of charm, persuasion, or even timing in the way the world understands it. No, when they contact you, when they make the first move, it will be because something far greater than their will has stirred them. It will be a divine activation, not human initiative. God does not call us to chase what He intends to send, and He does not send lightly. When He moves someone toward you, it is because something in the spiritual realm has shifted. There is a divine release, a moment when the veil lifts and clarity floods the soul. They will not move simply because they miss you, or because they remembered you. They will move because heaven remembered its word over your life. There is an authority behind this kind of movement. It is not wishful. It is weighty. It is as if something ancient and eternal has suddenly been stirred. The timing may seem sudden, instant even, but the process has been long in the making. Like a tree blooming overnight, unaware to the world that roots have been growing in secret for years. And when the fruit finally appears, it is not spontaneous. It is inevitable. That is how divine contact works. One moment they are silent. The next, they are compelled. Urgently, instinctively, without explanation. Their heart burns with a clarity they cannot ignore. The resistance they once carried melts under the heat of divine fire. All delays collapse under the weight of the now of God. They are moved not by emotion, but by revelation. They begin to see with spiritual eyes, and what once seemed distant becomes undeniable. In these moments, the Spirit of God becomes the sender. He quickens the heart. He softens what was once hardened. He pierces through distractions, through fear, through pride, through pain. You don't have to convince them. Heaven does the convincing. And when they move, it will not be to test the waters. It will be because they know. They've heard. They've been awakened. And now they must respond. This is the kind of connection that can't be manufactured. It isn't the result of perfect timing on your part or well-crafted words. This is a covenant moment. It's what happened your spirit and theirs have been aligned, and the appointed time arrives. You'll know it not by how it flatters your ego, but by how it calms your soul. It won't bring confusion. It will bring peace. It won't ignite trust. It will confirm what God has been whispering all along. Sometimes we long so deeply to be chosen that we forget we are already seen. But heaven has not overlooked you. Your weeping, your wilderness, all of it has been seen, measured, and redeemed. And now, the voice that called Lazarus out of the grave is calling this connection to rise. When it is time, nothing will stop it. Not delay, not distraction, not even disbelief. But hear this, when they move, you must be ready, not ready to doubt, not ready to question, but ready to receive, ready to recognize that what you prayed for has now found its form, ready to stand not in anxiety, but in assurance. Because divine appointments require divine posture. You cannot carry old disappointments into new doors. You cannot second guess what God has confirmed, where you trust. This move, this contact, will be the evidence of God's orchestration. You won't have to wonder if it's them. You won't have to force the timing or script the conversation. The fingerprints of heaven will be all over it. The moment will speak louder than 1,000 rehearsed prayers. Because what moves by the Spirit speaks straight to the Spirit. And when they reach out, when they break the silence and take the first step, let your heart remember this. It wasn't their idea. It was heaven's. You where you trust. It wasn't impulse. It was destiny. It wasn't by might, nor by power, but by the Spirit that they were sent. And when the Spirit sends what belongs to you, it won't knock. It will enter like a wind, and you will know, this is the move I was made for. There is a difference between movement and alignment. The world tells you to chase, to pursue, to make it happen, to force what your heart longs for into your reality. But the kingdom of God speaks a different language. It doesn't call you to run after what is already written. It calls you to stand, to be positioned, to remain rooted, even when your eyes cannot yet see the unfolding. You were never meant to strive for what is already yours in the Spirit. The divine doesn't require manipulation. It requires obedience. And sometimes, the most powerful form of obedience is stillness. To remain when everything in your flesh wants to act. To trust when everything in your mind wants to fix. To wait when the clock tells you you're late. But heaven does not run on earthly time. It runs on appointed moments. There is something sacred about being in position. Like a watchman on the wall, your role is not passive. It is prophetic. You are not just waiting, you are preparing. You are holding space in the spirit for something that must arrive, not through your effort, but through God's timing. That is a posture of faith. It is a declaration that says, I will not move ahead of God. I will not chase a shadow when I've been promised the substance. I will be still because I know who I am. You were never meant to initiate what God has declared someone else will start. There is a move coming toward you, a step that will be taken on your behalf. And if you run, you may miss the sound of it. If you chase, you may outrun the very thing God is sending to find you. Your stillness is not weakness. It is power restrained. It is the kind of trust that shakes the enemy because it says, I believe so deeply in the voice of God that I don't need to make noise to be heard. Consider Ruth. Positioned in Boaz's field, she didn't plead for favor. She gleaned faithfully. She didn't force connection. She followed instruction. Her posture opened the door for divine recognition. Or consider Rebekah at the well, not searching for a spouse, but serving with excellence. And in her obedience, she was found by destiny. Heaven's pattern is this. Trust. The ones who are still enough to be led are the ones who are found at just the right time. There is a person assigned to recognize your spirit. Someone whose heart is being stirred to move toward you. And you will not have to convince them. You will not have to chase them. When the Spirit awakens them, they will see clearly. They will move deliberately. They will contact you not out of pressure, but out of purpose, where you trust. And your positioning will confirm what they've sensed in their spirit. Your peace will validate their prompting. So what does positioning look like? It looks like refusing to lower your standard for the sake of attention. It looks like stewarding your healing instead of numbing your waiting. It looks like preparing your space, your heart, your life for what you believe is on the way. Not because you're desperate, but because you're convinced. When you are truly positioned, heaven does not have to compete with your hustle. God doesn't need your panic. He needs your posture. The enemy will tempt you to settle in the waiting. He will whisper that you've been forgotten, that no one is coming, that maybe you missed your moment. But your positioning is your protest. It is your prophetic stand against fear and fatigue. Every day you choose stillness over striving. You wear your trust. You are saying to all of heaving, I trust the author of my story more than the ticking of a clock. And when the moment comes, when that person reaches out, when they make the first move, you will know it wasn't because you chased them down. It wasn't because you forced the door open. It will be because you were exactly where you were supposed to be. When heaven chose to fulfill its word, you weren't forgotten. You were placed. And placement always precedes promise. So stay where God planted you. Stay in position. Stay ready, because the move isn't yours to make. It's theirs, and they're coming. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by divine release. And when the one God awakens comes searching, may they find you not running, not striving, but standing exactly where heaven last spoke your name. There are moments in life when heaven leaves a mark, subtle to the world, but unmistakable to the spirit. A whisper that cuts through the noise. A timing that no man could orchestrate. A connection that pierces through the years of delay, doubt, and disappointment. And when it comes, you'll know, not because it arrived in grand display, but because it carried weight. Holy weight. When your person contacts you, when that first move is made, it won't just be a message. It will be a sign. A sacred confirmation of something older than your questions and deeper than your dreams. The world may see it as casual, simple, ordinary, but you will feel the trembling in your spirit, because heaven always speaks in layers. It will not be just a text, a call, or a gesture. It will be the echo of a covenant set in motion long before you understood its form. You must understand, God never wastes a word, and He never forgets a promise. What He spoke over you in private, He will confirm in public. And when this moment comes, it will feel like the page of your story has turned with divine precision. You won't have to overthink or dissect. It will come with peace, a kind of peace that quiets every former storm. You where you trust. It will be as if something you were carrying in your spirit for years finally found its reflection in reality. Their voice, their presence, their pursuit. It won't just awaken your emotions, it will resonate with your destiny. You will know, this was not sent from man's desire, but from God's design. You will remember every night you prayed, every tear that hit the floor, every moment you thought maybe you were wrong. And then suddenly, you will understand, you were not waiting in vain. You were waiting for this. And do not expect it to look dramatic or elaborate. Often the most divine things arrive in humility. A manger instead of a palace, a whisper instead of thunder. So when it comes, don't let its simplicity deceive you. Pay attention to the weight, the way your spirit stills, the way your discernment activates, the way something deep within you responds, not in fear, but in knowing. This kind of confirmation doesn't shout. It aligns. It comes bearing clarity, courage, and consistency. They will not come to test the waters. They will come because the veil has lifted, because they've seen something beyond the surface, because God has removed every false voice and finally allowed them to hear the frequency of your name in their spirit. And when they speak, listen, not just to the words, but to what rides beneath them. There will be a tone, a sound that carries the signature of something holy. That's how divine contact works. It doesn't just answer your hopes. It confirms God's intention. You won't just feel chosen, you'll feel sent for. But this moment is not the end. It is the beginning of a greater unfolding. It is the first step into a journey that was written before either of you could read. A journey not of fantasy, but of purpose. You were never just waiting on a person. You were waiting on a promise. And that promise is tied to purpose, to calling, to destiny. This isn't just love. It's assignment. It's legacy. It's the alignment of two lives that, when joined, reflect the nature of God in a way neither could alone. So don't take it lightly. Don't treat it as casual. Recognize the holiness of the moment. This isn't about romance alone. It's about restoration, about God making good on every unspoken word He once breathed into your spirit. You are not entering a season of maybe. You are walking into the whys and amen of God. And you'll know. You'll know because the contact will not stir confusion. It will settle things. It will not open old wounds. It will speak healing. It will not feel like a detour. It will feel like coming home. Not to a person, but to a place in God where everything begins to make sense. So lift your head. The delay was not denial. The silence was not absence. The waiting was not wasted. You are standing at the edge of something sacred, and the next sound you hear may be the door of destiny opening, not with force, but with grace. And when it comes, when they reach out, you won't just hear their voice. You'll hear the echo of heaven saying, "This is the moment I promised, and now it begins."